Been lucky enough over the years to work with some amazing crew, but visited some stunning locations and filmed with some lovely people. Just a short message just to let you know that after 11 years with Salvage Hunters, I've decided it's time to move on.
One day he was there, and the next he was nowhere to be found. For over 11 years, John T. was a familiar face on the show. Then suddenly, he was gone, disappeared, without clues. And now we're learning of things the public never knew. Hidden tensions that went on in the show, shifts in roles within the team, and a quiet replacement. John T. didn't just take a break, and now the truth is starting to come out. Join us in this video as we expose what really happened to John T. from Salvage Hunters. Why you stopped seeing John T. on Salvage Hunters. At one point, John T. was seen as irreplaceable, especially alongside Drew Pritchard on Salvage Hunters. People often joke that Drew did the work of two men, like Laurel and Hardy. John had a knack for taking risks, messing around with fireworks, and somehow it all took off for him. He was there on most of the trips, working quietly in the background, keeping everything moving without needing the spotlight. But that once solid, unshakable relationship started to crack in his final year on the show. Tension began to build as control over the show slowly shifted to a new group of producers. As that happened, T's presence on screens started to shrink. His role became less clear. He was no longer introduced as Drew's main partner. In recent episodes, he was treated more like just another member of the crew. Behind the scenes, conversations about the show's new direction left him feeling pushed aside, and that was only the surface of it. The deeper issues were far more personal and never made public. But here's the truth. Toward the end of his time on Salvage Hunters, John T. and Rebecca Pritchard began spending more time together off camera. They handled inventory checks together. They made several private deliveries. Before long, it became a sensitive topic within the company. Rebecca, of course, is Drew Pritchard's ex-wife. Even after their split, they continued working together. So when T and Rebecca grew closer, it didn't go unnoticed. It created tension within the team. At one point, T was even excluded from trips that Drew was part of. According to an insider, the two were kept apart for nearly 3 months. Around that same period, production brought in a new assistant to work with Drew. To T, it felt like a quiet replacement, like he was being phased out. He began skipping scheduled scenes, sometimes saying his car had broken down, other times blaming exhaustion. But according to someone on the logistics team, his car was perfectly fine. And when he left set, he didn't look sick at all. From that point on, Drew and T's relationship slowly began to fall apart. They stopped having lunch together on set. Their conversations became short, almost forced, just enough to get through their scenes. By the end of the season, T was even given solo scenes without Drew, something that had never happened before. One longtime co-star revealed that the two had a tense exchange on set that lasted nearly an hour. The conversation wasn't recorded, but it clearly left a mark. That same day, John T left earlier than expected, and then he didn't show up for the next 3 days. The breaking point came early that summer. During an internal meeting, T was quietly removed from the lineup for the next season. A few weeks later, he left the production group chat, returned his studio pass, and cleared out his belongings from the truck he had driven for years. Still, viewers weren't told right away. It wasn't until weeks later that Quest TV released a short video without giving any real explanation. How did John T get on the show? And why did he choose a quiet exit? Keep watching to find out how John T built Salvage Hunters. When Salvage Hunters was launched on Quest, Drew became the face of the show, while T was introduced as his sidekick. At first, T wasn't interested in being on camera at all. He had no background in television and no real desire for it. But the production team saw something valuable in him. His calm, straightforward nature balanced out Drew's more intense, fast-talking negotiating style. Eventually, T agreed to appear on one condition. He wouldn't have to change who he was. No acting, no rehearsed lines, and that's exactly what viewers got. What you see on screen is who he really is. On set, T focuses on the practical side of things, checking items, planning transport, figuring out routes, and making sure everything runs smoothly. He doesn't play to the camera. He doesn't try to impress anyone. And over time, That authenticity became one of the show's most important strengths. His ability to stay calm under pressure also stood out. There was a time the crew got stuck on the road because of a landslide. T figured out a quick fix to protect the items they were carrying. Another time, when a vehicle broke down, he repaired it on the spot so filming wouldn't be delayed. Moments like these rarely make it on screen, but they're a big part of why the show works. Despite being on television, T never changed his lifestyle. After filming, he simply drives home. He maintains his own truck, and he stays away from the spotlight. No press events, no side appearances, nothing extra. He avoids events, press appearances, and interviews altogether. In fact, he's turned down at least 3 invitations to appear as a guest on television. His reason is simple. He doesn't want to change who he is just to fit someone else's image. T and Drew's relationship didn't begin on TV. It was built on the job, on trust, honesty, and a shared understanding of how to work. That foundation carried them for nearly a decade before things began to fall apart. Even after stepping into an on-camera role, T never lost sight of who he was. He stayed grounded in the practical side of the work, but as the show grew, his role started to shift. The things he used to handle, things he was deeply involved in, slowly stopped being a priority. And that's when things began to move away from what he had originally signed up for. That's when the idea of leaving started to take shape. Behind the scenes, the reality was far more complicated. This wasn't just a casual exit. It was a real split between 2 of the show's most familiar faces. Later, Drew Pritchard addressed it on social media, saying T had chosen to follow his own path and that everything was fine. But that doesn't change what really happened. This wasn't sudden. It wasn't impulsive. It was the result of a long buildup of tensions, disagreements, and unresolved issues, both personal and professional. That split didn't just affect the show, it marked a turning point in John T's life. To really understand why he was so dedicated to Salvage Hunters and why he later chose a completely different path, you have to go back to where it all started. How did it all begin for John T? What was his life like before the show? Keep watching to find out. John T. before Salvage Hunters. John T. was built for this kind of life. He was born and raised in the north of England, far removed from television or the antiques world. No one in his family worked in either industry. His father worked in a mechanical repair shop. His mother ran a small local store. From a young age, T was surrounded by tools, machines, and raw materials. He learned how to handle wrenches, cutting tools, and metalwork early on. By 17, he had left school and was already driving heavy trucks, moving goods across different parts of the region. He started out working for a small company that dismantled old furniture. From there, he moved on to transporting materials from industrial sites that were being taken apart. Those jobs taught him a lot. He learned how large structures were built, things like iron doors, machine tables, steel columns, and storage racks. More importantly, he developed an instinct. He could tell what was worth keeping, what was just scrap, and what could be sold for real value to the right buyer. And soon he met Drew. John T. first met Drew Pritchard in the late 2000s through a furniture deal. At the time, Drew was expanding his antiques business and needed someone reliable to help move items from difficult, often remote locations. T took the job. He already had experience handling heavy loads and navigating tricky situations like dismantling large pieces, crossing narrow bridges, or working in places that were hard to access. In the beginning, their roles were simple. Drew bought, T moved. But over time, that dynamic started to shift. Drew began asking for T's input before making purchases. T had a sharp instinct for logistics. He could quickly tell how difficult it would be to move something, and if he felt it couldn't be transported safely, he would say no. Drew respected that. Soon, they were traveling together more often, working as a true team. After leaving the show, what has life been like for John T? What has been his next steps? Let's see. After the show, how John T. rebuilt his life. After leaving Salvage Hunters, John T. disappeared from the public eye. He hasn't appeared in the media. He doesn't use social platforms. The only thing known is that he moved to a quiet coastal area, far from the usual filming locations. There, he started something new, a small antique shop. The name is simple, written on a wooden board fixed to the wall. The Quiet Forge. From the outside, it looks modest. Step inside, and you'll find industrial metalwork, workshop tools, repair equipment, and rare antique pieces most people would overlook. Unlike typical antique stores filled with polished displays and nostalgic decor, this place feels different. It doesn't look like a shop. It feels like a working space. Everything is arranged with purpose, based on function, not appearance. Large gears sit neatly beneath steel shelves. Iron frames lean against the walls. Tool cabinets are placed carefully across different sections of the space. People who visited often say the shop feels surprisingly organized, like it's been arranged by someone who truly understands how things should fit together. His customers are usually craftsmen, architects, or interior designers looking for rare, functional materials for their projects. T doesn't introduce himself as a former TV personality. That part of his life doesn't come up. When he deals with customers, he keeps it simple, focusing only on the item, where it came from, its condition, and the price. To the locals, he's just a quiet, detail-oriented shop owner, someone who understands the value of even the smallest, most overlooked pieces. He doesn't source items in bulk. Instead, he goes out himself, driving to old factories, abandoned farms, and shut down industrial sites. Sometimes he'll be gone for a few days. Then he returns with items no one expected to still exist. A nearby resident once said he works like a natural, like someone who instinctively knows what matters and what doesn't. These days, his routine is simple and consistent. He opens his shop at 9 a.m., closes at 5 p.m., takes Mondays off. Weekends follow the same rhythm. He works alone, no staff, no assistants. He handles everything himself. Packaging, deliveries, every order, and just like before, he stays out of the spotlight. Since leaving the show, he hasn't attended any public events. He's turned down invitations to local antique fairs and hasn't signed on with any media agencies. He's chosen a quieter life, and he's sticking to it. Those who've worked closely with him understand one thing: he has no interest in returning to fame. For T, everything became clear the moment he stepped away from the camera. He's done with that chapter. The Quiet Forge doesn't rely on advertising, yet it still attracts a steady flow of customers, mostly through word of mouth. Some people don't even come to buy. They come to learn. They ask questions about restoring old machinery and how to bring worn-out pieces back to life. T doesn't offer paid services for that, but if someone is genuinely willing to learn, he'll take the time to show them. As he once put it, if it still works, let it live. Don't throw it away just because it's old. Even without television, he's still deeply connected to his craft. He doesn't need the spotlight to prove anything. His work today may not bring fame, but it gives him something more important: control over his life and a sense of stability. This quiet life isn't emptiness, it's a decision. However, something else was almost getting ruined in John T's life, and he needed to fix it. What was that? And how did he fix it? Keep watching to find out. Fighting for his life. Not long after leaving the show, T went in for a full medical checkup. The results revealed something serious. His thyroid was severely underactive. That condition slowed his metabolism, making it harder for his body to burn energy. The result: rapid weight gain, even though his diet hadn't changed. It also brought constant fatigue, dizziness, and trouble concentrating. For a long time, T hadn't paid much attention to it. His schedule used to be extremely tight, and the constant pressure of travel left him in a state of always pushing things for later. But once work stopped, everything became clearer. The symptoms were no longer easy to ignore. T could barely walk for more than 10 minutes without getting out of breath. Even his sleep had become seriously disrupted. That was when he decided to completely change his lifestyle. No diet pills, no quick fixes. He started with the simplest step: walking. At first, it was just a few hundred meters around his neighborhood. Then it slowly became a few kilometers every morning. He stuck to it for months, no matter the weather. Next came his diet. He cut out packaged foods, reduced carbohydrates, and focused on simple home-cooked meals. No personal chefs, no extreme dieting plans, just paying attention to how his body responded. When he felt lighter, when he slept better, he simply continued. No drastic changes, just consistency. After about 6 months, the results started to show. His clothes became looser, his posture changed, his stamina improved. In total, he lost over 30 kilograms in 18 months without surgery or any complex medical intervention. And he did it all quietly, with no public updates, no photos, and no social media posts. The first people to notice were his regular customers. One visitor who came monthly said he looked a bit sharper each time, but more importantly, He seemed more alert, even more talkative than before. And beyond the physical changes, something else shifted too, his mindset. Before, T was usually quiet, kept to himself, and focused only on the work. But after his health began to improve, something changed. He became more open with regular customers. He started offering advice more freely and sharing insights about restoring old items, things he rarely talked about before. From the outside, those who watched this transformation saw it clearly. T had found his own version of success. No noise, no credit seeking, no need for recognition, just a quiet commitment to improving his life, something he had delayed for far too long. His physical recovery didn't just make him healthier, it reset his entire rhythm of living. No more filming schedules, no more scripted demands. Talking about Salvage Hunters, what was the show like? How well was it received? Let's see. Salvage Hunters. Salvage Hunters is a British television series that follows decorative salvage dealer Drew Pritchard as he travels across the country searching for antiques, visiting shops, fairs, private estates, and old mansions to find items he can resell online or in his store. The show has aired on Quest since 2011 and has run for 19 series. Each episode follows a consistent format. Drew travels to different locations, negotiates prices, often through careful haggling, and selects items he believes have value. The show then highlights these pieces, explaining their history and appeal before following Drew back to his base in Conwy, where his team restores, cleans, and prepares the items for sale. They are photographed, listed, and often the episode concludes with a summary of how much the items eventually sold for. Sellers range from private collectors and estate owners to antique dealers and market traders, and over the years, the show has expanded beyond the UK, with buying trips to countries like Belgium, France, Germany, Hungary, Italy, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, Ireland, and Spain. The series is narrated by Ralph Ineson. It was first announced on October 25, 2011, when Discovery Networks International commissioned it for its free-to-air channel Quest, with production initially handled by Cineflix Productions UK, part of the global Cineflix company. Drew Pritchard was cast as the main presenter from the beginning, and the show quickly gained traction. Around season 4, as the series was renewed for a 5th season, a major shift happened behind the scenes when executives Camilla Lewis and Rob Carey carried out a management buyout of Cineflix's UK production arm, forming a new company called Curve Media, which then took over production of Salvage Hunters. Curve Media is an unscripted production company run by Emmy and BAFTA-winning producers Rob Carey and Camilla Lewis. They founded the company in 2014, bringing with them experience from major shows. Carey worked on American Pickers, Air Crash Investigation, Property Brothers, and Worst Driver, while Lewis was behind Trauma, Four Rooms, Great British Railway Journeys, and Grand Design. Since then, Curve Media has grown into one of the UK's top independent production companies. They operate from London and Cardiff, but their work reaches audiences all over the world. The company focuses on creating high-quality factual and entertainment shows for some of the biggest platforms out there, including the BBC, Disney+, Channel 4, Netflix, Sky, ITV, Paramount+, Discovery+, and Channel 5. What do you think about how John T. has rebuilt his life and found new meaning? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Outro! Thank you for joining us on this beautiful narration about new beginning. We hope you found this video both interesting and inspiring. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video on your screen to explore more interesting celebrity stories. See you there.